I'm Kevin Williams. Joining me is soccer editor Matt Manley as we take a look at this weekend's action, brought to you by Brielle at Rothman. And Matt, we are at that time of year. The heat of August is gone, the leaves are falling, it's later in October, and it's now you're playing the big games, and of course Saturday is a big day of soccer at Shore Regional High School.
Yeah, it's you can feel it outside. It's getting to be championship season around here and most of the places in the States. A little earlier this year, that's been kind of the underlying storyline of this year's tournament. It started so early that you still have division titles being decided. You had a couple decided, or at least one decided yesterday in B South with Pinelands winning there. You still have A North up for grabs a little bit, but all the while we're deciding a Shore Conference champion over the next 5 days, 6 days, with Saturday being a big day.
Being that it did start a little earlier, is that a reason why we've had so many upsets in terms of seeds by number?
Well, yeah, I think you have like a week and a half less to hash out who the number one seed is and who the top 10 are, but I think that's more of a product of this is an even Shore Conference this year. Last year you had 4 power teams, 3 in particular that ended up winning state titles and finishing the top 5 in the state. This year it was a little bit more open. I mean, Homedale came back to the pack a little bit with everybody they graduated. CBA graduated 7 starters. Ocean lost an entire team, didn't even make the Shore Conference tournament. They're back to 8-8 now, and they could be some trouble, but it took them a while to get going. And and Jackson didn't get their big scorer, Dan Russo, back. He's playing for Red Bulls. So you had a lot of guys didn't come out or graduated that kind of evened up things in the pack. And I think everybody kind of expected it to be a little bit of a wild tournament, and it certainly has played out that way.
So parity has sort of reigned supreme here. The top 3 seeds are all gone. The highest seed left is number 4.
That's right. And not only that, but the top 2 were gone in the round of 16. You want to call it the first round, you call it the first round. Those were their first games. I think, talking to a lot of people, I picked it that way too. Marlboro got a tough draw in Manasquan. I had Manasquan ranked 2 to start the year. They got off to a very shaky start. They changed some things with their formation, with their personnel on defense, and they've been playing very well lately. They beat Marlboro, and they go down to Southern and win a penalty kick game there. So they're playing well. They're not really a 15 seed. That's to quote the old adage. Toms River South was kind of a 16 seed. They've been a 500 team all year. They've had trouble scoring goals. They do have maybe the best keeper in the Shore in Jalen Folsom, but they'd already lost to Homedale in a competitive game during the regular season. But still, you didn't really expect Homedale to go down at that point. It's tough to keep winning the way they were winning, but at that point you kind of thought they could get by this first round against Toms River South because Toms River South has trouble scoring. Toms River South didn't score, and they won the game. Or they won the game in PKs because they did a great job defensively, and Jalen Folsom came through big time for them. So I think nobody was really stunned with anything in this tournament. It was one of those tournaments where we know some weird stuff's going to happen. Let's go see what happens. And we're sitting here with an 8 seed and a 15 seed playing for a championship this week.
By the way, Folsom's heroics helped him earn the Surf Taco Boys Soccer Player of the Week award. So obviously he stepped up big and people recognized it.
And
so
all his friends, yes.
And all his friends. So let's take a look at the Saturday schedule. Set it for us.
Well, first game you're going to have is the Manasquan CBA game, which is a rematch of last year's quarterfinal. And this is on the boys' side. You're going to have 2 girls' games first, which it's kind of been the same story on that side. If you wanted to get into it, the number 1 seed lost in the round of 16, which was Jackson. So you're going to have some even matchups there. You have RBC and Middletown South, who Middletown South beat them during the year. And then, the second game you have Freehold Township, Toms River North, who were always in the mix of Toms River North, the defending champ. And then when you get to the boys' games, that CBA Manasquan game is a rematch of the quarterfinal last year. CBA won that one, but Manasquan has 8 starters back from that team. Plus they added Simone Cardenas, who is a good player. He played academy last year with Cedar Stars, and he's playing with them with Manasquan this year. And he's starting to really make his impact felt. He scored the 1 goal the other day against Southern. So they're starting to come together at the right time. But CBA is playing as well as any team in the Shore right now, and playing some of the best soccer in the state with the way they played against St. Benedict's, with the way they beat Seton Hall Prep. They beat Freehold Township, who's been on a tear lately, and they're playing in the second game against Colts Neck. Colts Neck ended up being the Cinderella. I mean, I know Manasquan's the highest seed left at 15, but I think people kind of expected Manasquan to be a sleeper. Colts Neck kind of came out of nowhere. They benefited from Homedale getting bounced by Toms River South, getting a home game against Toms River South. But what's so impressive about what they've done this year is they lost 18 seniors last year from a team that was very good. They didn't have a great regular season, but they got hot in the postseason, made it to the CJ3 finals with a very senior-heavy team. and they've totally come back. I mean, they're right there for the B North title. They ended up losing out to Wall, but here they are in a Final Four for the first time since '01, which, I don't think anybody at Colts Neck expected, and I certainly didn't expect it this year. Sometimes you get lucky with the draw, but they've taken full advantage of it, and they'll have a shot against Freehold Township, who's also, like CBA, playing very well right now and going to be tough to beat.
Freehold Township is the highest seeded team left.
Correct.
Would you rate them right now, the 4 left? Are they the favorites to win it?
I think you got to call it CBA, because CBA beat Freehold Township last week 4-2 in a game that, was Freehold Township actually scored first, so it was a competitive game. But CBA had a lot of the possession. They did what CBA does. The one thing with CBA is they play really well at home. They've been a little bit more vulnerable on the road because the fields sometimes aren't as big, and this will not be one of those bigger fields they're playing on at Shore. It is the turf, they're fine on the turf, but it's the smaller field that I think is going to be the equalizer, particularly against Manasquan, who, like I said, has really changed some things defensively with their back four. They're defending much better now, so I think the fact that CBA can't spread out quite as much will help Manasquan a little bit, and set pieces become a much bigger deal on those smaller fields, and Manasquan has taken advantage of those with some of the guys serving their free kicks and going up for headers. So I think the playing field will be a little more even to give Manasquan a chance in that game.
It sounds like in that game, but you do have a case of, from an intangible standpoint, CBA may be benefiting a little bit from the schedule they've played for this time of year, and Manasquan benefiting from the fact that they've had time to finally put things together. Both teams look like they're coming in a little bit on a roll.
I think I guess you'd have to call them the two hot teams. Freehold Township deserves to be considered that too, because they've won 8 out of 9. Their only loss is to CBA in that stretch. But like you said, CBA has played the competition, whether you're talking about Seton Hall Prep or St. Benedict's or Freehold Township. They've played that competition recently too. With Manasquan, it's been more, they've played good teams, but they've played must-win games for a long time now. They were 3-5. They had to win. They had to get to this tournament by not losing. They ended up coming back from a 3-1 deficit with 10 minutes left to tie Middletown South. Had to have that one, and they won 2 games the next week that they had to have, and then they won in this tournament. So they've been backs against the wall for a couple weeks now, and I think they're starting to really embrace it. And they did it last year too, to make their run in South Jersey Group 2. So I think this is a team that, even though they didn't play well early on and certainly didn't get the results, they do kind of embrace that down to the wire mentality that you have to have this time of year, so that's what makes them dangerous.
If you could break down both games on how you think they'll be played, the type of games they'll be, give us a little scenario on both.
Well, I think CBA will control most games because they keep the ball, and I think teams are going to end up defending against them, and I think that's going to be the case with Manasquan. But Manasquan has their dangerous players too, and I think the way they're playing right now is it's going to give up some possession to CBA, because what they're doing is they're trying to defend a little bit more with the players they have in the back, and they're trying to go forward with Tommy Johnson and Drew Greenblatt and Cardenas. Those are their 3 guys going forward who they're trying to make their offense with. Where CBA is going to play throughout the formation, they're going to play through the back, and I think they're going to hold the ball. But like I said, the size of the field could be a factor because Manasquan can tighten things up a little bit. And if you get set pieces, it becomes just a little bit more of a jumble. It might be overstated. I think coaches overstate it sometimes, because you're not talking a huge, you're talking a few feet here, but it does change the way you spread yourself out and get your spacing. But CBA typically controls tempo. It's a matter of whether or not you can keep them from finishing on the front end, on the back end, however you want to put it, or if you yourself can cash in the opportunities you do get. And Manasquan's been doing that. We'll see if they're able to do it. And then in the other game, Freehold Township, I think, shouldn't be surprised that they're here. Even they lost, a very good player to start the year. And listen, we kind of thought they'd be here anyway, because this is basically the team they had last year. So they should be here, and they are here. But Colts Neck, it's kind of hard to determine. They started the year so well for a team with so little experience, and now they went through their lull, and now I think they've come out the other end playing well. I think it'll be a defensive game. Colts Neck has not given up a lot of goals this year. Freehold Township tends to score them, and they tend to let teams back into games too. So one thing to watch out for is, how does Colts Neck respond if Freehold Township scores first, and does Freehold Township put the clamps down finally without letting a team get back into it, because they've typically done that before. But I think they have to be considered the biggest favorite in the 2 games, because Colts Neck they've had one real challenge this year where they stepped up and played Wall for a division title and they got beat 3-0. So I think this is a proven game for Colts Neck. I think they're good enough, but you have to consider Freehold Township probably the biggest favorite out of the two games. And then, we'll see what it falls with CBA and Manasquan.
Normally, I would have to go on shore.youtube to read your predictions on this. I get a sense you like Freehold Township and CBA.
That's the lean. I think I think the games will go in their favor. I think if you go watch those two games, you'll say, okay, the two best teams I'm watching right now is CBA in this game and Freehold Township in this game. But sometimes, it's a play here or play there. With Freehold Township, it's just, do they ease up on your throat after they get that early goal? Because it's happened to them a few times, and I think, this close to the finish line, I think they'll have a good game ready to go, especially when, these teams scrimmage each other. They kind of know they're two Freehold regional district teams, so there's some familiarity there.
Yeah.
With the other game, I think it's a lot tougher because Manasquan has guys who can finish, they defend, they're good in goal. They have the elements to beat CBA. It's just, can you overcome the fact that CBA is going to control the game for a lot of it. It's just a matter of can you counter them, and Manasquan's capable. I haven't put the posts up yet as we're filming this. That's the way I'm leaning, but I could see Manasquan being a problem in that game, definitely.
So it's Saturday semifinals. Sounds like two very competitive games. And then the championship game is Wednesday night at Shore as well.
That's right, that's right.
Should be a great day of soccer tomorrow. There is nobody who follows Shore Conference boys soccer like our Matt Manley. So check him out all weekend long for all his stuff going in and going out of the game. We'll have pictures, we'll have video, all that stuff. And before you know it, next week we'll start swinging into the state tournament.
That's right, coming right up. And that should be a wild one too with it's throughout the state this year. There's a lot of parity.
He's Matt Manley. I'm Kevin Williams. Our thanks to Brielle at Rothman as we cover Shore Conference boys soccer on shoresportsnetwork.com.